All right, guys. So we got to talk about Steven Crowder going on Tim Pool's show last night to discuss Stop Bitcoin. Him basically exposing the big conservative media companies that are allegedly taking advantage of smaller creators. And I'm pretty sure all of you guys are generally aware of this conflict and how this conflict kind of started and where we're at this point. The initial video that Crowder made in which he was exposing a contract that he had received from a big conservative media company in what he calls unfair terms in that initial kind of offer that he got. And then the DailyWire came out and outed themselves as the company that gave Steven this offer. And then Steven responded with a recording of a phone call that he had with Jeremy Boring, the CEO of the Daily Wire. And then you also had the Daily Wire respond to Steven. You had Ben Shapiro respond. Candace Owens has respond. There's a lot of people that have come out and responded to this, and this has become kind of one big mini war within the conservative space. And I hope that this is the last video that I do on this topic, but I do want to do this video because I want to make it clear where I stand on this drama and this beef. And that is that I am neutral, right? I'm 100% neutral. I don't really have a dog in this fight, even though what Steven is saying that he stands for is actually good for smaller content creators. And I want to talk about that. But really, I just want to make it clear that I am neutral. I think Steven makes some good points. I think that the Daily Wire makes some good points. I understand both perspectives, and the point of this video is really for me to just break down what Steven said in this video, and also to just kind of tell you guys what I hope to see in the future that I think is going to be a win for everybody. So without further ado, the first clip that I want to talk about is Steven Crowder discussing the problem of big conservative companies purchasing views or buying views through ads, and that driving down ad rates across the industry as this negatively affects smaller content creators. And I want to talk about this because I think this is one of the most important things that Steven brought up that is being overlooked. Take a look.
Rumble. Look at the likes, look at the comments. It's startling because it's a lot easier to buy plays than it is to buy likes and comments. That's not a problem.
Wait, are you saying that the Daily Wire is buying views for their content?
I'm saying that they run the videos. This happens not just Daily Wire, to be clear. Stop Big Con is designed because of this entire industry. And what happens is, yes, these views get inflated. There's nothing wrong with running ads to increase the video count. The problem is this. When that is used to then go out and set sponsorship rates. And then this is what happens with creators. When you sit down with sponsors, and these are hard-earned dollars, right? A lot of them are mid-sized companies. You run them on this show and they say, yeah, but you know what? We didn't get our money's worth, and this person is the #1 show, because they go out and they say that they have these numbers, and they set what happens? They drop those rates across the board, which hurts everybody, or they pull out altogether. Now, you can publicly verify that information. Now, I could tell you guys that I've had conversations with sponsors that say, we're not going to be running in the conservative space because it's just not as effective as we thought it was, or you know what, we're going to be pulling out. And content creators who say, why am I getting these low advertising rates? Here's the issue. If you're some kid, and by kid, I mean, you could be a 40-year-old with a smaller podcast. Let's say you get 250,000 plays. Not as big, but good numbers. Let's say you get 500,000 plays, right? Good numbers, but they're real. And you are a conservative, and you're trying to grow this. And then all of a sudden, your content, YouTube is saying, can't say that, can't do that because of the box that's been created by all of these companies in big conservatism. And then you're trying to make it, right? You're trying to make it something that is financially solvent, and you can't because sponsors no longer have faith in this side of the industry. That is something that hurts those creators. And this is something that, so the creators are hurt, the sponsors are hurt, the viewers are hurt because I just want to finish this one, and then any questions you have. The viewers are hurt because they feel isolated. They feel like their views are not represented, right? They go, hold on a second, I'm conservative. Why are none of the top people saying whatever it is? X, Y, Z. And the investors are hurt. And I don't mean billionaires. In our case, it's people who invest. When they sign up for Mug Club, they are paying us because they say, we know that you're demonetized. We know that you don't run nearly as many sponsors. You're very selective. And we think we are giving you our dollar in faith because we think that you are fighting for us.
Yeah, so Steven is saying something that I definitely believe is true. I've definitely seen the Daily Wire run ads to get views on their content creators' videos, which there's nothing wrong with that, except when you're using those inflated views as a negotiating point with advertisers and sponsors when it comes to them putting ads and ad rates on your videos, because then at that point you're buying views that aren't really organic. They aren't good quality views for advertisers, which means the advertisers are going to get a lower rate of return on their investment when they advertise on some of these big conservative channels, which is going to drive down rates across the industry, especially for smaller content creators who have less negotiating leverage. Advertisers are going to come to smaller content creators and say, hey, we can't pay you that much because the return on investment for conservative content is just not as good as we would like. So therefore, we got to pay you less. And again, that return on investment is being dictated by these conservative companies, these big companies paying for fake views, right? Which again hurts smaller content creators who are trying to come up, who are not necessarily trying to, be as beholden to YouTube monetization guidelines or whatever. They're trying to be more edgy or whatever, less censored. The way to protect against that is through sponsorships, okay? Either that or you ask your audience directly for money, which I don't like to do, okay? I don't like to ask people for money. I mean, I think the first year of my channel, I didn't even have links for people to donate or anything like that, because I was like, I don't want people to donate to my channel because this is not about money. I'm just speaking my mind. But what convinced me to do it is the whole, YouTube demonetization thing, getting random arbitrary strikes. I was like, okay, I need to open up avenues for people to support me in other ways if I'm going to keep doing this, but it's not something that I want to do. I don't like to do that, right? But yeah, if you're trying to, not necessarily play ball with big tech, okay, then yeah, sponsorships are important. And when these big companies are driving down these rates, it makes it harder for up-and-coming content creators to make a living doing this, right? If they're not necessarily trying to rely on YouTube revenue. And I think Crowder bringing this up was a great point that I think a lot of people are overlooking. And this clearly is something that should be exposed and talked about more, because it does really hurt the smaller content creator that is not necessarily trying to, be monetized on YouTube or rely on YouTube. The sponsors are what you rely on. And when you got these really low ad rates, not only is it harder to rely on sponsors, you have to take on a lot more sponsors that you might not even want to take on because you need the money, right? To grow. You need money to grow a business, to grow your audience, to grow your reach. You need money. And, that hurts the audience, because the audience doesn't want to sit through, 4 and 5 and 6 ads every single video or whatever. And this is why, I make over 150 videos a month, but I only have probably 10 of those videos that may have a sponsor, or even me, promoting my merch store or whatever. The reason why is because I don't like doing it, right? I don't like, asking people for money. So the next point in this video I want to talk about is Steven talking about the contract situation with the Daily Wire and him recording Jeremy Boring, and the idea of whether or not this is friendship or business. And I thought that this was a fascinating part of the conversation as well, too. Take a look.
It could have been Fox News for all anyone knew, and they're the corporate monolith.
There's about 4 or 5. I would say we have 4 or 5 offers, and then there are other investors who come into the space who just want to dump in a whole bunch of money. Daily Wire here outed themselves, and I understand that people are saying, well, people knew who it was. Well, that's because some of the people who were under those contracts said, yeah, I recognize those contracts. And Candace said on this show, I recognize the terms from my contract. Here's the thing. I said this is wrong. Penalizing conservatives, and I believe this to my absolute core, penalizing conservatives on behalf of big tech while taking money from people who are paying you, investing in you to fight big tech. That is what they're investing in. That is what Mug Club is investing in. That's what subscribers are investing in. While simultaneously penalizing conservatives is fundamentally wrong. I had that conversation and said, look, just please give me your word. You're not going to be doing this with other people who, as you well know, when you start in this industry, don't know better. Immediately after that, right, the conversation was, Crowder is making a big deal as a dick about money, right? Basketball money. $50 million a year was the implication, which is not true. People aren't saying that now. That's not what people have a problem with. What people have a problem with, I understand, is the idea of a phone call. And now the narrative has shifted to betrayal of a friend. That's what people want to say. I say last straw. I say this is something that I've watched, experienced for years, tried to give every possible out to do the right thing, and have tried to do the right thing in the way that we run our own business. Saw the gaslighting, the bully tactics that take place behind the scenes of other creators, and knew it wouldn't be myself. So now the narrative shifts to how could you record a phone call, betray a friend? Well, hold on a second. It was just about money. This is just business, and now it's, hey, we're really good friends. Well, which is it? I mean, you kind of have to pick a lane, right? Are we good friends, or are you sending out a boilerplate contract that you demand of everybody, according to what they say, that have 110% penalties on behalf of big tech? And the issue with that is that it's dishonest. It's a tactic of the left. It's a tactic, the same kind of tactic that you see from the left, the gaslighting.
Yeah. So again, I want to stress, I am neutral on this. I understand the business side of it from the Daily Wire. Like, I understand the offer sheet, why they made the offer sheet, the terms that they put in there, why they put those terms in there, those penalties. I understand all that, and I don't blame them for that, right? I also understand Crowder and his side of it, where he's saying, look, there are people out there that are claiming that, this is about friendship. And if this is about friendship, if we're friends, then why are you coming to me with this very unfavorable business-oriented offer if this is about a friendship? And a lot of people criticizing Steven Crowder for recording a phone call with Jeremy Boring and saying that you don't record your friends, which is true. You don't record your friends. But the Daily Wire, so it seems, they weren't operating when it came to this contract negotiation with Steven Crowder from a friendship perspective, okay? Because, if this is a friend thing, right, then you don't need to go through the formalities, the business formalities that the Daily Wire was going through. I think that you kind of start off the negotiation in a little bit more of a friendlier place, okay? And you're more open to, doing something a little bit more customizable and not treating your friend as if he's just another, random person that you're trying to do business with. Again, Steven makes a good point here in regards, you can't have both. It's either friendship or it's business. And if it's business, then that would make Steven recording that phone call with Jeremy Boring, which he's been criticized for a lot more understandable, right? Because at that point, right, is just business, right? It's just business, right? Which is the point that Steven is making, even though I don't think it's ethical for him to record that phone call without Jeremy knowing. But having a business negotiation and recording the phone call, that's like standard practice, okay? If you call any financial services company, they're going to tell you you're on a recorded line, right? You're conducting business, okay? A lot of business is conducted over recorded lines. And that's a standard thing. I just wish that Steven would have told Jeremy that he was being recorded. I think that is unethical to do that. However, I mean, again, it's business, right? Right? I think that, people, you can't have it both ways. Okay? Daily Wire clearly was coming about this from a very business-oriented perspective. And people you can't really blame Crowder for doing the same thing. And real quick, some people do bring up, Project Veritas and, them recording people. And I'll say this, I don't think it's necessarily the same thing. I think Project Veritas doing secret recordings, while secretly recording people is unethical in general, they're doing it to expose unethical behavior. And without those secret recordings, some of this unethical behavior that's way more unethical than secretly recording people wouldn't be exposed to the public in the first place. So I think they're doing great work, and I thank God for their work. I don't necessarily think the Project Veritas thing is the exact same thing, but I just want to address that real quick. Now, there is some back and forth about, did Crowder give a counter offer? What was the negotiation? Did Crowder ask for more money? Why did he actually walk away from it? I'm not going to get into those details because, honestly, I don't think it really matters to my point that I want to make in this video, which is that the Daily Wire is a business. They gave a business offer. Crowder is an independent content creator who has his own source of revenue, his own fans. He's built up his own platform, his own thing. He can walk away from that business offer and do his own thing, right? And it sounds like that is what he is trying to do.
If we continue down this route, then there's got to be other people, right? We have to have other shows on there. I could have, again, just gone off and done it and just kept Mug Club. But Gerald, I said, look, either I'm going to leave at this point, or we can't just complain and bitch. Yeah. We have to do it better. And that's kind of where we are. And by the way, we still haven't decided what it is that we're going. It's a tough decision to make. Yeah. I own 100% of Mug Club, always have. We did the Mug Club Forever, so we now know how many people are out there. We were really clear. We're like, do not go to Mug Club Forever unless you are currently in Mug Club. We're going to send out a double captcha, double opt-in, culled the list, so we know. We're like, don't go. And is it a newsletter? No. Are you going to get any spam? Nothing. Any updates? Only when and where and if Mug Club returns. And this is a little bit of the young Frankenstein. Ovaltine? Nothing.
Let me ask you.
Yeah.
Do you think that when you are going to launch something independent, it's going to be Mug Club, but then you're going to add on shows. Do you think you'll be bigger than the Daily Wire?
I don't care.
No. Real question. Based on your memberships, based on the amount of views you get, do you think you will be bigger than? I'm not saying this as
it would if I decided that let me answer it this way. I've wanted to be done with this by the time I'm 40 as far as hosting the show on air. The last thing you want to do is overstay your welcome, and then move to a I wouldn't say like necessarily like a Harvey Weinstein or like a Bruckheimer, but more like a Suge Knight.
How old are you now?
35.
Okay.
So and I want to be able to pass that torch.
When's your birthday?
July.
Okay.
Yeah. So I want to be able to pass that torch. Right now, there is no ability to, because you now realize there's no ability for people to come up and do. But it would be really hard for you to do what you do now today. You know that, right?
Yeah. And harder and harder.
And it'd be
day.
harder.
Yeah.
It'd be impossible for someone to do what I do. I don't want to pull the ladder up behind me. So I want to be able to move into a production role. But really, what motivates me is being able to pass that mantle and make a difference. I guarantee you, if we were to do it, it'd be within striking distance of the big boys. Which I'd be fine with, but as long as we do something that we believe in, and I promise we will never demand people's YouTube monetization. We will never punish them if they are not, and it has to be something fair, and it has to be us not shortchanging the investor, meaning the people, Mug Club. It's entirely independent, paying us to fight for what they believe in. Whatever those numbers are, I'd expect.
Yeah, so it sounds to me like Steven wants to kind of start his own network type of thing. And ultimately, that's the point of this video, right? Look, I mean, put everything else aside. Ultimately, the ball is in Steven's court to do what he says he's going to do, right? This is such a big problem. You have the business model, you have the formula to try to change the incentives in this industry to try to make it more free speech friendly. That's what he claims. Well, hey, you got the resources, you got the brand, you got the audience. You got to execute, right? I mean, to me, I don't see the point of continuing to, talk about the Daily Wire or talk about these other companies when the ball is in your court, right? In regards to what you can do, right? He says that he's going to have some type of platform, some type of thing, some type of network where, he's not taking people's YouTube revenue and that he's going to support them and allow them to be more free and, less prone to censorship and not punish them because big tech is punishing them. Hey, man, you just got to execute, because I 100% agree with you if you can do that. And I think that if Steven can do that, that will make the movement stronger, right? If he can do that, it'll make the movement stronger. Because ultimately, again, the Daily Wire has their own business. They're going to operate their business the way they operate their business. In any business, there are sketchy things that companies do in order to make money, okay? And I don't think Daily Wire is an exception to that. But again, the best way to rid that corruption or to minimize that corruption is to form a better company with a better business model that people are going to watch, and they're going to be able to compete against these bigger companies and force them to be more ethical in regards to their business practices. And that's ultimately what this comes down to. Again, this is why I say I'm neutral on this, because the capitalist in me says, hey, I don't blame the Daily Wire for, some of the things they do. But also the capitalist in me says, well, this is why competition exists. This is why you have people like Steven Crowder, who says that he's going to go out and start his own thing and, do it right and take down, or help, fight against big tech and censorship. Cool. Let's do it, right? Let's do it. Right, I want to see this business model that Steven claims that he has that is going to be better, and that's it, right? That is what the takeaway should be. Okay, I like the Daily Wire. I'm a subscriber to Daily Wire, right? I like Steven Crowder and his content as well too. I watch everybody. I support everybody, and I'm just hoping that in the end, this just makes it better for the audience. I hope that the audience wins out of this, and I hope that the country moves in the right direction because of this. That is my hope. So let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.